doing our training. Again, most of the time we do it at, most of the time we do our training at Truly Title, you know, every Friday. That's pretty much set. It will be like that forever, 11 a.m. All trainings are always recorded. All trainings are always in person. And they're also where you can call in. So like today we have like 12 people. So this is my house. It's the broker address. So you'll see it on MLS, 8005 Middle Circle. Anytime I get a check in the mail, I always cut it before midnight and get it. Either I put it in my mailbox right out here, and I'll give you a code. It's on my porch, and that way it's protected. And the neat thing about our company is that I don't hold personal checks. So on leases are always made out to the brokerage. On a sale, we table fund. So that means that at closing on a sale, the check is made out to you. On a lease, it's made out to DHs Realty. But the day I get it, and I don't go to bed till midnight, so I always check my mail, no matter what I'm doing, I'll cut the check, I'll text you and say I can either mail it to you or I'll put it in my mailbox, and that way you can come pick it up. So I don't hold a personal check for days to see if it's going to clear. Okay. So what our training is on today, because when you join it's realtor.com. So I always like to say we have realtor.com leads and we have Zillow. And I mean, every day I'm talking to people about our company and they always ask about a lead program. And we have two of them. It just depends on what fits your needs. So we have Zillow, and we have a relationship with Zillow that is month to month, if that's what you want. And month to month means that there's no long-term contract. So there's a lady that you'll call, and hypothetically, let's say it was Zach. He'd go, hey, my name's Zach. I'm with Doug's company, and I'd like some information about buying leads. And she'll ask you, where do you live? And you'll say, what city do you live in? Yeah. So he'd say, I live at 123 Easy Street in Frisco. She'll basically pinpoint his house and do a diagram, a radius circle. And he'll say, I'm interested in leads 2 hours from my house at a max. I would just always say that. That gets you basically up to the Red River south. It gets you down to Waxahachie. It gets you basically the whole search radius of our MLS, which is enormous. And you'll just say, I have $300 I want to start with. And it's month to month, so it's not a long-term contract. That's your call. So that's with Zillow. You can start, just ask her what the minimum is. You just want to pick the most leads in that circle. Any leads that you get are yours. And at closing, only $225 is taken out if it's a sale, or only $50 if it's a lease. So those are leads you pay on your own. What is neat about the realtor.com leads is that a lot of people, you know, when they start out, they don't want to invest that monthly just to first see what the program is. So that's how we have realtor.com. I had that open up on June 15th-ish for our company. I grabbed it, and we basically have 10 cities. So we have the Rio Grande. As you head north, we have San Antonio, Austin, Waco, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Collin County, El Paso, and Tyler. So 10 cities. Hopefully he knows to just walk in. Will you check that door real quick, Zach?
So how much of this?
You're good. You're good. He's coming. I think that's Steven. Is that Steven? Nice. Okay, so what was that question? The Zillow lead. Steven, this is Rosa, Zach, Don. Come on in. And if you want, just turn this. And you can, it's good to meet you.
You too.
Look at you. You look like a model or something. Anybody tell you look like the guy, Abbas, the guy that was going to be the James Bond?
Oh, is that right?
What's his name?
Well, I need his money.
Huh? Yeah, very much in the face. He looked like. I watched The Wire, and he was on The Wire. Luther. He's on. So we just started. So,
right.
And you can kind of whatever you're comfortable with. So Zillow, it's your call. It's kind of like a decision that you have to make. So is that what you asked? Like having? Oh, it's your call because you pay that on the front end with them.
Oh, like that's their rates?
Oh yeah, I mean you would just talk to her and say, hey, I want to. Can I do 200 a month? What will that get me? And she'll just tell you how many leads you can get. So like about 3 years ago, I was buying Saxy leads and I was paying $2,000 a month, but I was the #1 agent. And the way that works is when an agent has a listing and it's in Saxy on Zillow, their picture's right next to their listing. When a call comes in to Zillow, they call that agent, and if they don't pick up, it's the next agent. And that was me. And I always pick the phone up. So just to give you one example, because everybody's different, there's an agent in our office named Corey Mosley. And I met him 3 years ago in Saxy. And it was from the Zillow lead. So I picked the phone up, and basically how I talk to all leads, it doesn't matter if it's a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord. If it was Steven, like, hey, this is Doug Smith with DHs Realty. And under this scenario, it was, hey, this is Alex with Zillow. We have Steven on the other line. He wants to look at 123 Easy Street, and we're going to get off the phone and hook y'all up. So they get off the phone, and there's a dead space, and you just go, hey, Steven, this is Doug. And he goes, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, good. What do you want to look at? And he said, 123 Easy Street. And I said, okay, when you want to do it? How about tonight, 6? And he said, yes. So I met him. This is Corey now in our office 3 years ago. He was just a buyer. And I met him in a house. I had a little packet that I give out to everybody that is just generically says on the front of it, tax guide. It's got my resume, references. It's got a little bio, but it's got the IBS, which we're required to give to everybody. So I had it rolled up. I shook his hand as we're walking up to the door. He had a Rangers cap and Major League Baseball shirt on. And I was like, oh, you a Rangers fan? He goes, I work for Major League Baseball. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. I go, what do you do? Because I watch the Rangers. And he's like, well, when they hit a walk-off, he goes, there's a girl that interviews the player and they Gatorade dump the player. He goes, I filmed that. He goes, I'm on the field. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. I said, so you know Emily Jones? That's the girl that interviews. And he's like, oh, yeah. And I've always wondered about her personality because she's a little like me, like you to like her, you know? And he was like, oh, yeah, he goes, she's tough. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. So we started to become friends just off that. I asked him where he was from, and he said Norfolk, and that's military base. So I just naturally said, oh, you military? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, a DD-214? And he goes, yeah. And I go, do you have any disability? And he goes, yeah, I'm 100% disabled. I mean, you wouldn't know it. Look like anybody in here. Right. And I said, well, you don't pay any property taxes in Texas if you're 100% disabled VA. So that was in Saxy. A month later, he bought in Little Elm, which is completely on the other side, a D.R. Horton home for $385 with a 5% commission. To 18, I remember the check was $18,100 off the Zillow lead. Then I was paying $2,000 a month, but I then divided that 18 by 2,000, and I basically had leads paid for 9 months. Right. He lived in that house for a year and a half. I listed it 1%, so it was about $415 when I listed it. So that's $150. He bought a home that closed last month that was $900,000, all from one lead. In November, he asked me about getting his license, and I said, yeah, I'll help you get it. And so he went through Champions. I helped him pass his test. He joined us. He got licensed a week before his home closed last month, and I told him, I'll give you 30% referral because you're now a realtor. So he made $3,000 as it. But my point is that those leads you never know. And so it could have been $200 a month if it was the call that came in, but it's random, you know what I mean? So the more you pay, the likelihood of getting more leads. But again, you don't want to lock into 2,000. That's a lot unless you know that you have that as discretionary income. So I would start when you call her and just say, what's the minimum I can do? And then she'll let you know. But with the realtor.com, and I hope everybody's on it because that's part of my onboarding. I send you to realtor.com, you get business. And Leslie's a perfect example. How many of you close? 5. And I mean, just give us because I don't remember, but what is the average? I mean, what are some of the checks you remember? Because the checks that she would have gotten are already with 35% going to realtor.com. So what is the highest one? I have no idea.
Last one I got was $632.
Yeah, but that could pay a car payment.
Yeah.
What? So that's the lease amount, or?
Yeah. I've only done leases.
Well, and that's fine. What happens after 3? She moves to a different bracket, and the leads are supposed to get better. I don't know if they actually do or not. But the whole point is that realtor.com, it's almost like a little salary. It keeps it to where you're in real estate, and then you fish for the bigger. It's like fishing. You cast net, you catch a bunch of mullet. That's realtor.com leads, and then you hook the mullet on a bigger line, and you look for the shark or whatever. And you know, one line off is not going to catch it. So you throw as many lines off. So you're doing open houses, realtor.com, maybe Zillow, that's your call. You're getting involved socially. and I play tennis. So I don't suck at tennis, because if I did, I wouldn't play it because I wouldn't get any business from it. So I try to get involved in things that people are gonna go, hey, what do you do that, like, I mean, you come to practice like every Thursday. Like, what do you do that lets you come to practice? Oh, I'm a realtor. And then when they send an email out, like how many lines they need for this Sunday, I reply to all, and it has my signature on every email that, hey, at the bottom, oh, Doug's my man, he's a realtor. And then I'm on social media, and I follow everybody on social media, because that's the one contact manager that never changes. Dawn might change her email 6 times in the last 2 months, but one thing she doesn't change is her social media. So if she's a buyer and I put her in a lead program and it emails every Wednesday, it might work for a while, but all you got to do is change that Don Taylor 2284. Is that what it is? Yeah. Only to Don Taylor 2285, and then that email is not hitting her anymore. But her social media has been the same. And generally, you can look on somebody's social media, you can see when they were pregnant, when they had their kids, now their kids are 15, and all those ages in between. So when you do that. So, all right. So my point is, this training was going to be, and is going to be on the lead programs. There's Lola.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, hit me with it.
All you ladies and gents, are y'all all like full blown in it? Because I'm still working, so I'm kind of debating and stuff like that. In order to be successful, really.
This is Lola.
Hi.
You know
really,
her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You know Lola. Well, I confused. Lola knows everybody. So.
Yeah. So my question is, in order to really kind of have a good drive and really be successful, do you think I need to continue working, or is this?
I think you're fine. So what do you? So you have a base salary? But right. I mean, a lot of, I think that is that something I'm trying to get it. But turn that AC down a little, just because of people. I want everybody to be comfortable. Go yeah, the other way. Yeah, perfect. Just as the mayor's coming. It's your call. I mean, I was a firefighter for 10 years. I had a salary and I did real estate. And, I knew that, hey, some months if I didn't have business, that there was always going to be, I mean, it's whatever's going to keep you in. And you just have a long-term plan. Like, hey, in 5 years, I want to be completely out of whatever I'm doing and but in order to do that, you got to have a business plan. And what I tell people every day I meet with them is that it's easy to say you get a certain income. You got to work backwards and go, how do I get it? So like with Lola and with Dawn or Leslie, and I'm just picking people randomly, but if they said in December 31st, like, hey, for 2022, I want to sell a home a month, 12 homes. The average price range is about 400. So that's over 100,000. Then they have to figure out where they're going to get those 12. So open houses, probably you can ballpark, if you're religious on open houses, you can get 3 of those 12 out of open houses, because it's a numbers game. And you do it every Saturday and Sunday, and you're going to be away from your family or single life or church or miss your kid's first pitch. And then you go, what are the other 3 sales? Maybe, and I don't say sales. I talk in terms of just closings, whether it's a seller, buyer, tenant, or landlord. If you can do 12 a year, that's 1 a month, then that's a good baseline. That should get you into where you can do it full time if that's what you want. So like with Leslie, she said she's got 5 Realtor.com leads that she's closed. So if you add them up together, I'd say probably what, 3,500, 4,000. I mean, not anything to write home about. Right. But again, we've only had it since June 15th.
I was the first one to make a deal.
Yeah. So that means that, and that means that right now we're at the 15th. So all of June, June to July, July to August. I mean, we're at 3 months, 5. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. And so again, I mean, before you got here, her one she just got was $600. But I mean, still, it all adds up. And I mean, I've had a $591 lease before, and again, if I had 10 of those, that's $6,000, and that's the same as a $200,000 house.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but again, I mean, yeah, absolutely, and there's plenty of people here. Who else has full time? That's going to be full-time job and real estate. Yeah, I mean. Oh, okay. But I mean, either way, but I mean, we have about 40% of our company are people that have a full-time job, because the fee structure and my availability, you're going to be needing people after 6, right? And to mentor, not during 8 to 5. So here, did I answer your question, Lou? Okay. Yeah. So the first thing is when a phone call comes, what I do with everybody is I try to set the appointment. I don't even log on to MLS, which I could, and look at my phone to see if the property Zach calls on is available. But I just say, absolutely, when do you want to look, Zach? And he's like, oh, how about this evening? And then I'm going to start vetting him a little. And I was going to say, so you want a lease? You know, oh, no, I'm month to month. Oh, okay. Have you ever talked to a lender before? No, I was kind of hoping somebody could walk me through the steps. I've never, you know, done it before. I'll put him on speaker and go, hey, I'm going to send you a list of a couple lenders right now. And all you got to do is call one of them. You never have to meet them anymore. Everything's done online. And at least that way we'll kind of get a ballpark on your financing, because just so you know, Zach, in this market, there's like 15 days of homes. And even if we found a home you liked and you wanted to make an offer, a seller's not even going to look at it unless we have a pre-approval letter. And I'll be able to write the offer up where it actually makes sense, because if you don't want to get pre-approved until after you make an offer, I wouldn't even know how to write it, because I need to know if you're FHA, conventional, if you're a veteran or whatever. And usually a real buyer isn't trying to get off the phone real quick with you. They're wanting the information, and if you're giving with abundance, then they're going to stay on the phone. And then I would just say, I'll see you tonight. Hey, one more thing before I get you off the phone. Give me your realtor so I can sign them in case you like the house tonight. I want to make sure they get paid. And I'm just kind of waiting for him to say back to me, oh, my agent's name's Steven. And then I'm going to say, well, where's Steven at? You need to go ahead and get in touch with him. Now, you can also say if you signed anything with Steven, if you want to try to see if you can work with Zach. But I don't usually do that. If he says, oh, my realtor's name is Steven, the way I ask that, if he answers that you're his realtor, that means y'all are friends. Right. Because I said, hey, give me your realtor's name so I can protect them in case you like the house. I don't want to take a commission from your realtor. That's different from me saying, do you have a realtor you're currently working with? Because if y'all were best friends and you were in Cancun on vacation, he might say, you might have told him to say, don't say you have a realtor. And that way you can look at that house while I'm out of town. Now I'm showing him and he's going to gut punch me at the end and go, you know what, my buddy comes back in a couple of days from Cancun. He's going to write an offer up with me. So I just always ask it that way. You got to ask it however you're comfortable. I've just found that it's real comfortable with me to say it like that. I wait to the very end. It's almost like he's about to hang him. Hey, one more thing real quick. Give me your realtor's name so I can sign in there so I can protect them in case you like the house tonight. And everybody does it differently. So then I get off the phone with him and he is committed to meeting me tonight at 123 Easy Street. The first thing I'm going to do before I ever go in the MLS is I'm going to send him my electronic business card. Almost everybody in here has seen mine because part of my recruiting you has been that I send you a number of things right when I get off the phone with you. So that's through Haystack. It's super simple to set up. We have logos on Back Agent under Office and Documents. All thing. I'm gonna yeah. Later, I'll send mine maybe and to do works. Like when you get your own. Yeah. And right there. But does a lot. And you know, I put it and really now because seeing that they have to compete for markets of brokers. And if you're on you need to go, don't have to back up. Anyway, so that's good. Let's see it.
So what if you say, okay, it's me tonight to see him, but then you don't have it, like there's no.
It's all being recorded, so we're good. Okay, so so you send them a little video, and you could, I have a little Kivo in there. It's like you set it up, and you just go, hey, this is Zach. I just want, you know, and you just Wi-Fi is going to be any Duggar, and then it's my cell phone with no dashes, 972-979-8413. So, but you got to do some type of little video. And if you didn't have any experience, you would just say something like this. Hey, this, and I'm not talking, I'm just, because I'm looking at it. Hey, this is Rosa, you know, and you're looking at a video and you do a couple takes on it, but you just go, hey, I just want to let you know why you should use me as your realtor. Number one, I teamed with a brokerage firm with over 100 years experience. We have about every designation you could ever want. You know, my broker is pretty active. He'll be in the trenches with me, and you'll be getting 2 agents for 1. And you know, I'd be honored to earn your business. I mean, just really short, but what it's doing is they're starting to understand your personality. And I think that Lola will attest. Lola has an incredible personality, Leslie, everybody in here. And it's just going to be the future that you've got to get onto that type of message. So let me add a couple people in here. Okay, so now to address what Claudia was talking about, and that is that, you know, what happens next is that you're going to go into MLS. And what I do is I have this website on my phone, okay? And this website is matrix.netris.net, okay? I saved it as a home screen. It looks like an app on my phone, but it's this website, all right? So I've already made the appointment, Claudia, to meet Zach. I don't even know if it's available. When I get off the phone, I send him my business card and a YouTube video. Then I go into the MLS. When you go into the MLS, it's going to be your license number, and it's going to be a password that you have, and
So basically that is the MLS.
That is the MLS. And you'll get a screen like this, and you'll, if it's on your phone, you'll see something that says full report or full site, and it'll look just like this. Okay, and that'll be on your phone. Exactly. Almost exactly like this, because I clean up everybody's MLS. And when I say that, I only try to get it to where when we train, everybody's looks the same. Now, you can always go edit it, but I just try to do that. Most of y'all have heard me text you and say, hey, you just got a 4-digit code, send it to me. That's because I put your cell phone in here to where if a buyer favorites a home, you get a text message. Okay. And that way it kind of keeps it proactive. So now, Claudia, let's say that he had called on this address, 8005 Fall Meadow. This is probably the most important screen right here. I'm moving around a little, but this screen right here, you'll hear me say it all the time. It's dummy proof. Zach calls on 8005 Fall Meadow. I can find it a number of ways. One, I can just go 8005 and put an F if I don't know how to spell. And I hit enter, and it's going to pull up anything with that exact number and that first letter all the way to 2003. Okay. Let's say that I don't know the street number. Let's say that Zach said it's on Fall Meadow, and he goes, it's one word. I could go FALLM. I don't even have to spell it out, and hit return. And it's going to pull up everything since 2003 with FALLM in it. If I knew that it was F and in Plano, I could do it that way. So all I do is go here. I go F. AL for, I just know it's FAL, and then I go down to city and I scroll down to Plano. And when I scroll down to Plano, I mean, I'm just trying to show you different ways. There's always a way to find a property. Now, the ones that are really crazy are when it's FM, farmer to market. Okay. So when somebody calls you and goes, hey, I'm looking at 7254 farmer market. All you have to do is go up here and type in 7258 and just put an F. And that defaults that farmer to market, whether it's spelled out, county road's the same. It could be spelled out county road, or it could be CR in MLS. Just put a C in the street name, and it'll pull up everything that's ever been 7258. Look at that. I just made that up. And you can see that there it is. So if you called on that one, Zach, and I see that it's sold, I would then click on the MLS number. The MLS number is called the agent full report. And I could kind of look at the criteria and go, oh, he called on a lot. So I'm now going to go in the MLS, and I'm going to do a search for Yantis under 50,000. So I would go search. And if it was a house, I go residential. If it was lots and acreage, I'd go there. And if it was a lease, I'd go there. So this is a lot. So I'm going to go here and go quick. And this is my MLS search. So I'm going to go here and type in Yantis. And then I'm going to go here and type in, I'll probably go 0-70. and you can see that there's 6 properties.
What we see that at? Over
Right there at the
Sell
bottom.
Property type?
Yeah, right there at the bottom. Yeah.
On our price part, I was messing with this last night. So 0 to, what did you put there? 7?
I put 0-70, but there's 3 zeros to the right, so that's 0-70,000.
Okay.
So if I put 0-70,000 there, I'm searching for 0-$70 million homes.
Okay. So if you put a plus behind the 70, or say,
You could do that. You could do 70 plus, but the problem is 70 plus is going to pull up properties up to $70 million. I mean, up to anything, infinity. So you want to, I always do 0 dash. And the reason I do it is I think it's a psychological thing. When I'm working with Steven and he goes, yeah, I'm approved up to $500,000. I don't want to say, well, I'm going to do 4 to 5. I'm going to say, well, I'll do 0 to 500. That way he can look at properties that are 250, 350, 450. But I'm not saying, hey, I don't want to show you anything under 400. So I'm just defaulted to doing that. I always do 0 dash, but that's your call. I mean, if there were 700 properties, then I need to edit it more. You know what I mean?
and for the zip code and city, you put no space, you
Just
put
commas.
and then the next.
Absolutely. Yep, that's exactly what you do. So,
Cedar Hill.
oh, no, that's fine. You would type in Cedar Space Hill, comma, and then
Oh, so you still have to put a space.
under Cedar Hill, you'll put a space on there. Yeah, the colony, THE space colony, and then a comma, Louisville, comma, Frisco, but with no, no spaces there. So here's the deal. I'm now going to send this search to Zach before I call him and tell him the home he wanted to look at is not available. And you can see there's 6 results. So what I always do, and this is part of our training, is that you always hit results and you're going to get a single line of those 6.
No.
And you always hit save right here at the bottom. When you hit save, you're going to have 3 options. Watch. And you always pick the new auto email. So that's it. You see results, you hit it, you hit save, and you hit new auto email. When you hit new auto email, you're going to either have Zach already as a client in your drop down or click create new contact. If you create new contact, you're going to put his name. And you got to put an email. And then you hit save and you have him right there. And then I don't worry about the subject line. I just put something like lots. And then when I scroll to the bottom, I'm going to hit save and I just emailed it to you. Now I'm going to text you back or leave you a video message or call you and go, hey, Zach, I'm still good for tonight at 6. 123 Easy Street was not available, but I just sent you 6 properties that are. You know what? We can knock all of them out tonight if you want it. So let me know if you see any you like. I still got 6 set up and I'm here for you. I want to earn all your real estate business.
Even if they're just a customer?
Yeah, no matter what. I don't even care what you are right now. As long as you're breathing, I'm going to meet you tonight at 6 if that's what you want. And then I'm going to worry about, here's the thing. In class, we get too technical about buyer rep agreements. So tonight, when I meet you, all I'm going to do is have my packet, and it's going to have the IBS in it, and you're going to get to know me. And then at the end of the showing of the 5 or 6 homes, I'm going to go, hey, I hope that I can be your advocate. That packet has my resume, references. There's a little disclosure in there I'm required to give to you. But more importantly, probably by the next 2 or 3 visits that we'll have, my office policy is that I send you a document that actually makes me your advocate officially. And I like that word, advocate. And I go, but in it, I have either party can terminate with 1 day notice. So it's in my packet, because in my packet, behind the IBS, I have a buyer rep agreement, templated. And it says in paragraph 1, your name goes here. But the rest of it is identical to what you will sign with me. So I tell you to look at it over the next few nights. And if you have any questions, let me know. And if you don't, then I'm probably going to DocuSign it. You DocuSign and you always say yes. And I go, I'll probably just DocuSign it to you. And it's just an office form. Just makes me your advocate. Boom, that's it. I shut up and I'm not worried about it anymore. Yeah.
So the 6 that you sent.
Okay, so now I'm about to do it. So I just sent those to him.
But how do you know those are available to show that night?
I don't yet. I'm going to first have him get them. And when he opens the portal, I'm going to get a text. When he favorites a home, I'm going to get a text. Then I'm going to go in. And anytime you get to an MLS number, all you do is click on it. And that's called an agent full report. You scroll to the bottom and you're going to text that agent. Don Spencer, 903-473-2225. I'm just going to go, hey, Don, this is Doug Smith with DHs Realty. Is to be determined PR 5861 still available? Let's say it was a house, okay, or a lot. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's available. And I'm going to go, oh, okay, how do I make an appointment for it? Because under that picture of the house, you can see this clock right over here. There's a clock right there. Okay, underneath the clock, sometimes there's a link right there that is to showing time. And you just click on it, takes you right in to make the appointment. To the right of the clock, Alex, I think I talked to you last night. If there's 3 sheets of paper on each other, that means there's PDFs. If it's blank, that means there's not any. Yeah. Yeah. So, what for some reason is not shown, but the screen is smaller here. It's just the way the thing is. So if this was a house, I'm going to make an appointment. I'm going to text the agent to make sure it's still available. And if they say yes, now I'm going to go meet Zach. And I'm going to get there about 30 minutes early, about 5:30. And I'm going to make sure that I look at the door and see it's on the combo that they told me, or the super E-key. You know, I just don't want to be flustered and get there right at 6 when he shows up and like there's something wrong. So I probably already video messaged him so he knows what I look like. That's not why he's going to work with me, but he just gets an idea of my personality. So when he pulls up, I'm going to tell him I'm in a Tahoe. He's going to get out. I'm going to get out, shake his hand, have my packet rolled up, and go, hey, man, good to meet you. I'm Doug. Let's go take a look. As I'm walking up, I say one thing immediately, and that is what the backyard faces. I always care about telling a buyer or a tenant if the backyard has due west sun, because there's a lot of heat in the summer, and it'll be unenjoyable. So if the backyard's like this, north-south, meaning I'm opening the door, okay, well, this is actually east-west. So if I open the door, that backyard faces due west. I almost didn't buy this home because of that, but it's a C shape. And so the outset of that master shades the backyard. But if the backyard was flush and that was the backyard back there, I wouldn't have even bought this home. That's how much I care about a backyard. I actually almost drove away. I went in and looked at it. I'm glad. But I will always say that. And what people always tell me is like, what do you know? How do you know what to say to a buyer? You know to say about a backyard and if there's going to be shade in the summer. And then you know that we have soil in the clay in the soil and our house moves. And those are the 2 things I'm going to say to him before I leave him that first time. And the first one is as we're walking up, I'll be like, hey man, just so you know, nice backyard. Backyard has an east patio. That means it's going to have some breeze in the summer. Okay. If it's an east-west house, preferably you want to be opening the door on the west side so that the backyard faces due east. If it's north-south, you want the patio over here.
I should have been recording this.
Well, it's recorded. And I talk about it all the time, so you'll always hear it. So what you want is Zach to say something like, man, I've never heard that before, okay? Now, he looks like a model, so I might say, oh, are you a model? Or see his tattoo, and I have one. And some people don't like to talk about tattoos, and some people do. I like to. That's why I got it. But I would say, oh, nice tattoo. Where'd you get that? And I mean, I'm just trying to be social with him. If I feel like he doesn't want to talk about it, then, you know, screw him. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But some people just aren't going to like you. And that's why it's a numbers game. But if I'm telling you, it's not rocket science. And Lola has her own personality and Leslie on how they meet people. But I mean, I know Lola gets to know people like that. As a matter of fact, I wish I had Lola with me yesterday. I went to the post office. I had a girl behind me. She was on an interview with Keller Williams. And I could hear her going, what do you mean 35%? And I was like, and I mean, I'm telling you, Lola, in my mind, I was like, God, I wish Lola was it. I was so flustered with this lady at the post office not having my package that I didn't even want to talk to anybody. But I'm telling you, Lola would have got that girl to join, because that's a person that's very infectious personality. And that's kind of how you got to be. And just like, you know what, I'm Lola. You like me or you don't, you know, but she's a producer. And Leslie's the same way. And everybody in here has a great person. But that's what you're going to have to do is there's 2 things you always talk about. One is the backyard and the shade, and in my opinion. And the second one is that our house moves. I do this with everybody. And I even class last night, I was like, and they all know I'm talking about that we have clay in the soil and our house moves. This house is just sitting on soil, it moves. And so I always say that, and then I always point to the sprinkler in the garage and go, oh, it's got a sprinkler. We water our foundation about every 3 days for 20 minutes in the summer and once a week in the winter. And then from there, it's just get them liking you, you know. On this house, the master's down. I've got a few bedrooms upstairs. You used to have a thermostat right there in the hallway. What would happen is in the winter, it'd be 20 degrees out. Our kids were little. We closed their doors for fire safety. The hallway right there was the thermostat. If we turned our heater on 67 and it was 20 degrees out, that means that overnight the heater would kick on for sure and heat rises. That thermostat will read 100 degrees. With the bedroom doors closed, when I'd open them to say good morning to my kids, it was freezing in the bedroom. So we had a repair guy move that thermostat on the inside of the bedroom. And now when we close the door, it only clicks on based on the temperature in the bedroom, not in the hallway. Right. Because the hallway temperature is like the Caribbean. In those bedrooms, it would be like the Arctic. And so you can also hit that when you show a 2-story with a master down and a thermostat. Almost all builders, not all builders, almost all builders have the thermostat out in the hallway. Right. If you start thinking about it when you start going into a house. And so it's just one of those things where people are like, man, how do you know that stuff? And you're like, oh, I'm a professional. I train on it. I want to know about that heat rises. It could affect a thermostat, your kid's room. Well, if you can talk to people and explain that it's fire safety to have their bedroom doors closed upstairs because heat rises. And I've been on house fires where a bedroom door was closed. When you open it, the room looked like this, and that door was open and the whole room was torched. And again, a couple seconds could save somebody's life when they're doing a rescue on a second floor. Even if you talk about fire safety and safety, your kids are ever upstairs, you ought to do a training on how they roll the window up, push out the screen, and throw a pillow off the second floor so that if there was ever a fire, when they do a walk around, which all fire officers do when they come up to a house and they see a pillow, they're like, oh, we got somebody upstairs. So you're just talking about things that are life instead of just worrying about money. Right. And so, anyway, so that's MLS, okay? Always, if you just scroll to the bottom right here, this section is going to say either call CSS, schedule showing time, or text the agent, okay? That's always going to be there, all right? So, again, that's MLS, and when I clean up your MLS, and I like to say it like that, I clean it up, it's always going to default to this screen. And I have this on my phone, that website saved as a home screen. I'm on it all the time, okay? Let's go over a couple searches, and then we'll move into zip forms. Anybody in here that wanted to look at a property that called me on the phone, I'm going to set up the appointment first. If it's not a property, I'm going to get your search, and I'm going to get your email, and I'm going to make sure you text, and I'm going to send you my business card, a video saying, I'd be honored to work with you. Check your email. I just sent you a list of properties. Then I'm going to log in the MLS. I'm going to do 3 searches real quick. One would be for houses. So all you do is hover over. When the your search criteria, and we do here, have 0 dash whatever. In bedrooms, you put 2+. In baths, 2+. You can only one of those square footage of 1,800 acres. See right here, I'll go over here to square footage and put 1,800 sign. Okay. You say you want 4 cities. You want Dallas. Well, if it was just Dallas, I didn't even get the S, and it's got Dallas highlighted. So if he wanted 4 cities, I need to put a comma. That's it. So just those commas. You can see that right now I don't have any searches down here, so we're going to keep going. Now I go over here to price, and I go 0-500. So basically right now what you can see is there's some kind of glitch, so you just do the search over. Okay, if you don't see any results, there's a problem. So you go and do the search over, residential quick. And so again, you're just trying to it's like the other day, something happened on wife's phone. I was like, well, just turn it off. And then when you turn it back on, it might work. So it's probably just because of the Wi-Fi. But I mean, I could walk through this without. I'm gonna properties. we're going to go to texasrealestate.com, and this is our forms. Now, there's multiple ways to do zip forms. Very good. And this is what I'm going to review later. That last night I did less. So zip forms. I work with people all the time on the phone that are even being on the screen. So on zip forms, when you log into zip forms, you're going to have a login like this. You're going to hit login, and probably the best app I've ever had in my life is called Zip Forms Mobile. It's $9. Yeah, no, because the Wi-Fi's down.
Is zip formed by Lone Wolf?
Yeah,
Okay.
Zip formed by Lone Wolf, and it's Zip Forms Mobile, and it keeps all your stuff when you'll have your own login, and when you log in, it'll have all your templates and everything saved. So all right, so here we are. So I've always said that when you log in, the first thing that you always do is you hit the new button. Okay. So, so here you are, you log in and you see right there, it says new. Okay. When you hit the new button, once the computer stops, when you hit the new button, you're going to have 5 boxes that pull up, and all you're concerned about is the first 3. The first one says listing. The second one says purchase. The third one says lease. So the first one's for a seller. The second one's for a buyer. The third one is for either a tenant or a landlord. Okay. So when I hit new, you'll see that 5 boxes pull up. There they are. I can do this on the phone if y'all ever call, because I don't need to be in front of a computer. Let's say that Steven is the purchaser. All I'm going to do is hit purchase. Then I'm going to get another screen where I've got to name it. So I'm going to name it Steven. I just always select the residential dot. I just try to make it easy for everybody. So you select the residential dot. Then you go and you have a drop down, and you're going to have 4 templates to pick from, and you'll pick the buyer template. Is everybody with me? So let me recap. You log in. When you log into Zip Forms, every time you hit what button? The new button. You get 5 boxes. You care about the first 3. Seller, buyer, lease. We picked buyer. We named it Steven. We selected residential, and then a drop down, we picked the appropriate template. You hit save, and the next screen you'll be looking at is a white summary square. There it is. You go 2 tabs over to documents. There it is. When you click on documents, you've got all the forms. That's what I'm about to do for you later. They'll all be pre-filled. So I want to make Steven a client. I need to send him the IBS, and I need to send him the buyer rep. So I open up the buyer rep agreement, and it's pre-filled other than 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is simply his name. So I'm gonna say a different name just to get it done quicker. So Daffy Duck, he's my client. I scroll down, and all I do is click on this first blank and pick today's date when I met him, and I pick the second blank and I put the end of next month. I hit save, and I'm done. The buyer rep is done. 2 paragraphs, the name and paragraph 4, begin and end date. I'm going to scroll down here and show you the rest of it, but it's done. That will have your name and your email. If you scroll down, it's already got intermediaries authorized. If you scroll down, it's already got your commission 3% or 50% for a lease, because this is a buyer tenant rep agreement. So if I get Daffy Duck to sign it, he could be a tenant or she could be a tenant and then turn into a buyer. I don't need 2 separate documents because this is a buyer tenant rep agreement. So I go ahead and put in, everybody has this. You have the 3 in case they're a buyer, and you have the 50 in case they're a tenant. Yesterday, Alex said, is this a glitch? Showed $1 for a lease. No, that's what's going on right now because there's no inventory. So what they're saying effectively is that you need to work out a payment with your tenant, because traditionally what's happened in the past is not happening anymore because there's no inventory. Once in about 18 months, we get back to a normal supply of homes, you'll see that having how much? 50%. 18 months ago, there's a builder off of 121 offering 6% to a buyer agent. Now they're offering 1%. And it's because there's no inventory. But as soon as there's more inventory, the commissions will go back and, you know, to what's normal. So we got to think outside the box. And so if I'm working with Steven, I don't believe in a tenant paying me. But when it says $1, by God, we are going to have a come to Jesus meeting. And now I might not tell him he's got to pay me 50% of the first month's rent. I might say, hey, you know what? My normal fee is paid by the landlord, but they're not paying me anything. So instead of, if it's $1,000 rent, instead of $500 I'm normally going to make, I'm gonna say that we need to work out something for 25%. Or that's your call.
So, what would you put there?
Right there. You change it and you put
50% to a dollar amount.
No, the dollar is going to stay the same in MLS. This will be just an agreement between you and the buyer.
So no, the tenant.
Yeah,
so
right.
You would take
that 50 out.
And put like 25 and 6 and they charge.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let's say that he goes. Let's say that they go, I can only pay $100. Well, you could delete all that, and you're fine with going all the way down here.
And
put it right there.
Okay. So how do you get the money from the tenant?
You're going to tell him to write a check to DHs Realty. Yeah. That's what you're going to have to do. Is everybody with me? Yeah, that's the only way you can guarantee it. And so, you know, you'll say, hey, I'm going to work my ass off for you. I'm going to advocate for you. And so part of this lease app that you're going to do, I need you to write a check for $250 to DHs Realty, and then we're going to send the lease app. And then you say, but I'm going to hold it and with my brokerage until, you know, we get the lease executed or something. Okay. All right. So that's the buyer rep agreement. All right. Let's say that now we want to e-sign it to him. We want to make him a client. Okay. And again, some of this hopefully is going to be where you are bored in these because we've covered it so much that that's the whole goal, is that one day the training, a lot of people don't show because it's so redundant that we got to know 3 websites, MLS and Zip Forms, and the other one is Back Agent. So now I want to make you a client, Steven. So I'm going to hit e-sign. Whatever document I'm in, there's always going to be that e-sign on the left corner. Now, before you send it to your client, if you ever want me to review it, which I highly recommend, you don't hit e-sign. So let's cover that real quick. If you're going to send me a document to review, all you do is hit send. And when you hit send, you're going to get email. And when you get email, you're going to get 2 boxes. You're going to red X out of the first one. And the screen right there, you type in my email and put review, and that's a PDF that's going to be sent to me. Okay, so that's how you do that. If you ever send me anything to review, you always hit send, email. You get 2 boxes. You red X out of the first one. You type in my email. You put review, and then I'm going to be looking at it before you even text me because my phone goes off that you've sent me an email. All right, but what we're trying to do is we're going to get him to sign and become a client. So all you do is whatever form you're in the left corner, you hit e-sign. When you hit e-sign, the next screen will have a drop down and say signing service. Always pick DigitalLink 2.0. It's the most updated version of kind of DocuSign. And then right there, it says select documents to include. Well, we have the buyer rep, but I need to send the IBS. So I hit select documents. And if I scroll down, you'll see those are all the documents I could possibly send. And right there, it says the IBS. I didn't open the IBS because it's already pre-filled. Okay. So I check mark it and I hit close. When I hit close, I go to the next screen and hit next, and it's going to give me a list of everybody that I'm going to send it to. So I'm going to pick me because I'm going to sign the buyer rep agreement. And now it says buyer 1 right there, and you see Daffy Duck. When you try to check mark him, it won't let me because I don't have an email. So I've got to put an email in there. Once I put the email, then it will let me check mark him. Okay? And then you hit close, and you're going to see the 2 parties. You can see that I'm getting it first. I'm never a big fan of me getting it first. I want the client to get it first. So I need to change that. And in the drop down, there's going to be a selection for number 2. And then I just pick number 2, and there I am. And I hit next. All the forms are going to load on the left with a little menu on the right. It takes a second, but they'll all load. When they load, I like to scroll down and make sure there's an initial prompt for both of us. And I'm just acting like you're the buyer. Right. So I scroll down. And I go, oh, look at that. There's an initial for Daffy Duck, but not for me. So in this drop down, I'm going to pick me. And when I pick me, I hit drag and drop, and it gives me a little legend, a menu. and I'm going to go, oh, I need to drag my initial. Boom. I go to because it's a glitch. Sometimes it does it and sometimes it doesn't. That's why I always scroll down to make sure. Okay, so I'm going to drag an initial to every one of them. Is everybody with me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if I ever need a different initial, then all I do is I change the name. So let's say that Daffy Duck had, what's the other one? Donald. Then it might show Daffy, Donald, and Doug. Well, whoever I pick is going to be the initials I'm drafting over. And again, I don't care if it's perfect. I mean, you could have it there if you want. It's not that big of a deal. So, but see here, it doesn't have my signature. So instead, I'm going to drag the signature. And then see the date's blank, but right there it says date. You just drag it. Okay, now I scroll to the bottom of the IBS, and I'm hoping that there's an initial for the buyer. There's not. So I need to change the name to Daffy Duck. And this form is only initialed. So you just initial, and then you draw the date. Now it's super easy. You just hit next and send. I just emailed it to Daffy. I'm going to text Daffy and say, hey, check your email. I've sent you a form for you to initial. Text me when you've initialed, and then I'll get it. Okay, so here's the thing. When you send out a form to be signed, when it comes back to you, not to be signed, but when it just comes back to you, like if I was sending an offer to you, I would just send it to you, and that's it. Once you sign, it comes back to me because it's my account. I don't put myself as a signer. Just you when it's a contract. When it comes back to me, it's going to come in the form of 3 emails. The first 2 emails, no one cares. The third one says it's from you to you. Okay? It's weird. It'll say it's from you to you. And when you open it, it'll say click here, and here will be highlightable. When you click here, it just says, do you want to save them as a PDF? You will. You'll remember where you saved it and named it Buyer Rep Agreement with Daffy Duck. Okay? All right. So again, this is zip forms. That's going to be working with a buyer. Okay. Real quick, let's cover working with a tenant, and then we'll conclude the training. And I'll answer any questions or do anything y'all want. So again, this is zip forms. When you log in, it's going to say your name in the corner. Hi, Steven. Hi, Lola. You're going to click on zip forms. The screen turns blue. When the screen turns blue, we click one button. What is it? New. When you click new, there's going to be 5 boxes that come up. The 5 boxes the first 3 is all you care about. So now we're going to say that Daffy Duck is a tenant, and we're trying to email him Daffy is the woman. But we're going to email her a lease app. Okay. So I'm going to pick lease. Let's say it's Donald instead. I'm going to name it Donald because that's the first name of Donald Duck. I'm going to hit residential always. And then I'm going to go to this drop down, and I'm going to have 4 templates. I have 5, but you'll have 4. And you'll say, oh, tenant, there he is. So you'll pick tenant. You'll hit save. The next screen, you're looking at a white summary square. You're going to go 2 tabs over to documents. There it is right there, documents. When you click on documents, you're going to have all the forms pre-filled. Okay, so here's the deal. We already know how to send the IBS and the buyer rep, all right, e-sign. But I need to send a lease app. So you're going to click on it. You can't fill out the lease app unless you do it like Lola does, which she can explain it as soon as I'm done here. What I like to do is I just like to send this as a PDF to Daffy Duck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it just like you would send it to me to review. Remember? As a PDF. Yeah.
So wherever they want to lease, they don't give them the application.
It depends. So it's part of your conversation with the listing agent. So if you showed a listing that Lola had as she was a listing agent, you would just say, hey, Lola, this is Dawn with DHs Realty. What application do you want me to use? She might say, go to www.filloutanaapplication.com. Or she could say, send us a TAR one. That's this. Okay. And if you send the TAR, here's the way I do it. I will send this just like you were going to send it to me to review. So send it as a PDF. You're going to hit send. You're going to hit email. You're going to red X out of the first screen. You're going to type in Daffy Duck's email, and you're going to put right here, print, fill out, initial, scan back to me. When they scan it back, what I tell them is when they fill it out, I tell them to leave the first part blank. And the reason I tell them to do that, I'm trying to get this out of here, is because I can use this as a master. because probably the chances are you might be sitting in multiple apps. So if you leave that top part blank, but they fill out everything else, then you have a master. So if I'm making a lease app on 3 different houses, if the first one didn't work, it didn't have the first one's address. Does that make sense? So however you want to do it. Now, how do you do it, Lola?
So like I said, 2 ways. It's either online or TR application. Now, before you even ask the agent, please go to transaction events and see if that's what they're requiring. Because if you call them and ask them a question that's already in MLS, they're not going to take you or your client serious. So to protect your client, read transaction desk, read private remarks, because a lot of times it's already in there. You don't have to ask.
That's absolutely true. I forgot about
that. Oh, normally I go here and I'll send it to y'all later. But if you go right here, because it's real easy.
Oh yeah, that's how I do everybody's templates.
I just copied that whole thing all the way down from top to bottom. I pasted it in Word or a body of the email. Yeah. Control A.
Okay.
And I have the client fill it out. I email it to them because I tell them, let's be proactive. It's either going to be online or it's going to be TR. So let's go ahead and have that completed before we even go look at a house. Because if you want the house, we already have this done. Instead of waiting another hour or 2 to get this done, then you still have to type it in yourself after they send it to you in that format. You still have to go in and type it in. So if it's husband and wife, you have to fill it out twice. Then you have to send it to them in DocuSign. Then you have to send it to the agent.
Yeah. So I just send it as a PDF.
But I don't do that because they will have to print the PDF. They're going to have to fill it
print it twice. Yeah.
Because if they do, you're going to have to send what did you put here?
Yeah.
Then they're going to have to scan it and send it back to you.
Yeah. So it's how do you want to do it? Yeah.
Can that need to be DocuSign though?
No. Well, it can be DocuSigned after it's filled out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I have a quick question.
Yes. Okay, I'm almost done, and then we'll get questions. So, so again, that would be the lease app. So here's the neat thing with a tenant, you really only need to do 2 things: an IBS and a buyer rep. The landlord agent does everything else. Okay. So it's an IBS. Everybody gets an IBS and a buyer rep if they're a buyer tenant. Everybody gets an IBS and a listing agreement if they're a seller landlord. But when you're working with a tenant, usually the listing agent does the lease. But what I've done is I've templated a lease in case you ever need to. Because some agents, the landlord will say, oh, you do the lease. So all you do is you're in the document still and you click on residential lease. And I've templated most of it. So it'll, you know, I'm talking to it loads, but it's going to be mostly pre-filled. You'll have to put in what the actual rent is. But I have security deposit, you know, that's going to be a cashier's check, money order, or a wire. But usually the listing agent does that. So it makes it really easy because when you work with a tenant, you do the IBS and the buyer rep. And if it's a realtor.com lead or with a listing agent, they're going to want a W-9, and that's our office W-9, not yours. I have that on back agent, and I like everybody to just keep it on their phone. And you're going to get an agreement between brokers, which is going to be already on here, and it defaults 50%. I have that in there. So if you, like Lola was saying, if you see a lease that's doing 25%, then on that agreement between brokers, you want to change the 50 to 25. Okay. All right. Other than that, I'm done, and I'm going to kill the recording, but then I'm going to ask y'all any questions that y'all have. And let's start with right here. Steven, you got anything specific?
No, I just, once I get my laptop or something, and surf it, I think I'll be all right.